the United States has beaten Canada in hockey. This is such a big deal in North America. I mean, the rivalry that the U.S. and Canada have in hockey is like biblical. It is old. It is just, it's like a toxic relationship. It's, you know, you keep going back to it. I would say it's like a toxic relationship for the U.S. because this, even though the U.S. is, generally speaking, you know, when it comes to like Olympic stuff or, you know, basically anything but men's football or cricket, going to be kind of bullying, or rugby, the other stuff, very aggressive and domineering when it comes to sports. And I know that. There's a million and one things to hate about the United States, right? But in hockey, that has not been the case. In hockey, it has been Canada, it's been the Soviet Union, now Russia. And the United States was always there. There was always a hope. There was always a maybe. But for 46 years, the United States had not won men's hockey gold at the Olympics. And we just pulled up against one of the best hockey teams ever assembled. The Canadian hockey team is just star, thug, star, Tom Wilson, looking at you, star. Like, it is unreal how good that Canadian hockey team is. I was struggled by how much they struggled in the tournament because they were struggling a little bit. You know, both these teams, the U.S. and Canada, had to get out of overtime in the quarterfinal. You know, if you don't score that next goal in overtime, we're not having this conversation. You know, and then in the semifinal, the teams kind of woke up a little bit and we got what we all wished for. What I absolutely wished for, which was the United States and Canada again. The last time this happened in 2010 in the Vancouver Olympics, Canada managed to win in an overtime goal. At that time, by the way, the overtime was a 4v4. This time it was a 3v3. I don't know why they can't just play a 5v5. Probably because they want to make sure the games don't run too long or something. But the United States won. I still, honestly, I don't know if I can believe it. I really don't. I mean, I can't imagine being Canadian right now. Because as I was watching the game, and for context, there's like a blizzard in New York. The puck dropped at 8:10 in the morning. On the East Coast of the United States. So West Coast of Canada, West Coast of the United States, people are getting up at like fucking 5 in the morning. If you're in Hawaii, you might as well stay up. You know what I mean? Like, to watch this game. So it was this weird twilight zone of everybody was awake early. And I mean everybody. Everybody was watching this game. I realize that for a lot of people watching this video, hockey in general, or maybe even the Winter Olympics in general, is a foreign concept that you're not really paying attention to. This was the biggest hockey game in the United States in like 40 years. It was this. And we knew we were worse. We knew it. All the players on the team knew it. All the fans knew it. For both sides. The Canadian players and the Canadian fans knew that we were worse. And we won anyways. Now, how does that happen? Well, Canada had 5.96 expected goals. The U.S. had 1.96. But we had a saint, human god, Connor Hellebuck, who was our goaltender. And he made a number of miraculous saves, including this one, which I'm pretty sure they're painting to hang in the Louvre in a few minutes. This is his stick. The puck has already gotten around him. He throws his stick out and stones this guy on the doorstep with an empty net behind him. One of the most unbelievable. Now, look, I can't show you any footage from this game because all the Olympics has basically SEAL Team 6 when it comes to copyright. And I like my windows, and I don't need them kicked in by jackbooted thugs. It was an unbelievable save. The United States had a 1-goal lead for most of the game. Eventually, Canada was able to score to equalize. But Canada blew every conceivable chance that they had. It was This was the best, as somebody that's watched hockey my entire life, it's the best game of hockey I've ever seen. Not just because we've won, the speed, the intensity, the ability, the desire. I mean, this was an outlet for the players, for the fans. It was an outlet. It funneled, I think, a lot of just everything. There's a lot going on in the world, obviously. Right? And I have always been able to separate love for country over love for, like, government or whatever. Right? And so I'm always, just rocking up with, most of the time it's kind of a meme, like, what the fuck's a kilometer? Like, like just be, rooting for some, ice dancing team that I heard of 5 minutes ago. And I'm like, yeah, they're mine. They're American. Let's go, because that's where I'm from. Those are my people, and I love sports and I love rooting for, like the Americans, the Olympics and whatever. Just the same as, like, I for example, I was also rooting for the Brazilian downhill skier because that was awesome. You know what I mean? Or the Spanish athlete that wins the ski mountaineering, like, that's super sick. Or the Haitian dude that finishes cross-country skiing. I'm rooting for that guy too. But I think I needed this. It gave me a small... And there's a weird correlation between this. And I realize I'm kind of pivoting the conversation from, like, why this was so important sports-wise, why it was so crazy sports-wise. It was just an unbelievable game. Tremendous contest. Goes to 3v3 overtime. We win with a late goal. I'm jumping up and down, hugging my brother in the living room at 10 a.m. because, I'm calling my dad, who remembers the last time that the U.S. won the gold in men's hockey in 1980, which was the miracle on ice when the U.S. beat the, 20-year unbeaten Soviet Union and then, rolled on and beat whoever it was, Finland in the final, I think. Shout out to the Finns for always being the bridesmaid in ice hockey. I think Finland has a gold. I don't know. They probably have a more recent one than we did until yesterday. But the last time the U.S. won the gold in ice hockey in the Winter Olympics was during the Iranian hostage crisis, during really huge gas lines and, like, a depression in the U.S. It was a really bad time. As somebody that studied history, that was a really cold point in the Cold War. A really, really bad time just for the, world tension in the U.S. in general. And the ice hockey win brought the country together on something. And it's something that a lot of scholars have talked about since the gold medal in 1980, about how it was, like, one of the biggest, most consequential sporting events. I mean, some will say in world history, right? But obviously that's more just has to do with the effect that the countries involved, like the Soviet Union and the U.S. had on the world at that time. But certainly in the U.S., I mean, just a culturally seminal moment when the U.S. was able to win that gold medal, coming out of absolutely nowhere, picked to finish dead last, basically, in that competition, because you weren't able to use professional athletes at the time. So it was a bunch of college kids playing against these allegedly amateur Soviet players, because everybody was amateur, technically. There's, like, this dude works at a warehouse, but he's been a professional hockey player for 15 years, It's like the NHL All-Star team. It's like having the, English U21s win the World Cup is basically what happened in 1980. And it was such a huge moment for the country. And I feel like U.S. hockey apparently just can't win anything until the U.S. just really desperately needs it. I hope it has the same impact in terms of being able to, like, I watched a documentary no less than a month ago, kind of getting ready for the Olympics. It was about the 1980 team, and it was just interviewing a bunch of people. They're talking to the announcer, and it was like, just gave you something to feel good about. Like, one little flickering moment of pride amidst the, like, storm of shit where you were like, damn, that was nice. You know what I mean? And of course, people are going to take that moment of pride and they're going to run in every direction with it and try and use it to, like, prove something or whatever. But I mean, beating Canada was great because that's, our just biblical rival in this sport. Like, the tale as old as time. We have a 3 billion mile border, right? Like this is the team that we've got to play in hockey. This is the team we've got to beat. But for me, it gave me a flicker of like, it gave me something to feel good about. In some sort of rare, fleeting moment in a storm of shit, I was like, wow, for 5 minutes, I can text my friends. I can, hug my brother. I can, post some stupid Instagram story with Freebird and be like, hell yeah, we won the gold medal in ice hockey, and have the whole country just, for a moment, just go, yeah. And that was really great. I hope that there's a residual effect from that in some way that helps. And shout out to the ice hockey team for delivering that, because this was a lot more than a hockey game. People always said that about 1980, but this was also a lot more than a hockey game. I'm not talking about like showing Canada that it's the 51st state and all that stupid shit, because it's not. Although I did get an incredible chirp from a guy, a Canadian, when I posted my Instagram stories about, how, yeah, the U.S. won the gold, let's go. And the guy replied, like, you guys are making a lot of noise for the 11th province. That was hilarious. That was very funny. Shout out to that guy. I wish I had that kind of humor after having to suffer through this unbelievable. I mean, I can't believe they lost. Like, I'm a U.S. fan, obviously. I'm talking about the great impact of this game. I cannot believe they lost this game. They had a 5-on-3 for a minute and a half, and one of the three guys for us didn't have a stick. That's like missing consecutive penalties. That's like missing a penalty, and then you have to retake it and missing it again. Like, I don't even know what the odds are on that. They had an empty net with like 10 minutes to go. Half the net was empty for one of the best players in the world, Nathan McKinnon, and he just bricks it into the wall. Somebody said it was like an Angels in the outfield situation, because after the U.S. won, they honored this American hockey player who died in a car accident a couple years ago, Johnny Gaudreau. And they were saying Johnny Gaudreau must have gotten in goal to block that one away, because there's no way Nathan McKinnon misses that, And the team did do a great job. They brought Johnny Gaudreau's children out for one of the gold medal photos, and they were like holding his jersey in the middle. And so that was a really sweet part of it as well, because obviously they all were great friends with him as he was involved in the U.S. hockey setup. And some of them played, in the NHL with him too. But outside of all of that, this was more than a hockey game. And I'm not talking, it has nothing to do with Canada. It had everything to do with the United States just as itself. And needing a moment where we could just feel proud again. Even if it was over a stupid rubber puck flying into a stupid tiny net and a bunch of dudes wearing stupid little pads. But the U.S. has long tied its identity to that 1980 Olympic hockey game. I mean, there's a movie that, like, triple platinum movie called Miracle that I watched a bunch growing up that my friends will it's watched all the time. It's like part of the lore and like the myth that we tell ourselves about the construct of countries in the first place. The U.S. and like Olympic sporting greatness and these great, sporting moments is really woven up into that as something that can like unify. I mean, even down to the women's national team. Right, the women's national team, the goal in the Coliseum, ripping the shirt off, 1998, right? Like those moments. And this was just, because it's tied back to that 1980 moment, it just brought even more power to it. And it was really like, I realized as an American, I'm able to offer like a unique perspective on it outside of it just being an amazing hockey game. We needed something. And they gave it to us. And that was really nice. And it was fun. And there's still like a residual, fuck yeah, just reverberating around that, and the figure skating, and that was a really good Olympics. It was a really good Olympics. And that is, my dad is in his 60s, right? He remembers where he was when the U.S. won that gold medal in 1980. Remembered every detail about it, and we talked about it on the phone, and we were talking about, after winning this. I hope we win the next one, sooner than 50 years from now. But if I'm in a rocking chair somewhere talking about where I was and where the country was when we won this gold medal in 50 years, it'll be a very happy memory. So hell yeah, fuck you, Canada.